Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, Sara Mostajabi.
What's up, Jay?
Not much, Sara. How are you?
Doing good, man.
Good.
Petting this kitey.
We got a good Katie here in the studio, in the living room. I can't really call it a studio.
Yeah,
but
you just live here.
I just live here. That's good. I don't even have soundproofing up on the walls or anything. My neighbors are probably freaking out.
Why does this guy talk about movies every Sunday and he always hates them?
I hadn't met my neighbors until earlier this week when I was on my way out to work at whatever it was, like 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and I didn't realize it, but I was slamming my door. I just wasn't thinking because I was like rushing back and forth because I kept forgetting stuff. And he came out and he was like, "Hey, buddy, can you not slam your door?" And I was like, "Oh, fuck, I'm so sorry." Yes, of course.
I exist around other humans.
I'm so sorry. Anyway, you have come in to talk about a movie that I don't understand why you don't like it.
So do you love this movie?
I think this is a really great movie. I think Groundhog
Is this like a top
Day,
placement of movies for you that you just are like, when it comes to Bill Murray?
No, I mean, it's not necessarily about Bill Murray. I just think Bill Murray certainly has a lot that makes this movie great, but I think that this movie is just a really solid comedy.
Right.
It's one of the best written comedies of all time. And now, especially in the past couple of years, it's spawned a whole bunch of imitators as far as we're going to take the plot.
Now it's a trope.
Right. It's a trope now.
Yeah.
It's spawned a trope.
Yeah.
And unlike other movies that have spawned tropes, I think Groundhog Day still holds up.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about it. We're talking about Groundhog Day. Sara, why? What's your beef?
Okay, so first of all, by the way, I love Bill Murray. I love Bill Murray movies because I'm not a monster. So clearly, I love anything that he's in. But this movie in particular, there are a few things that really drove me crazy about this movie. First of all, I had to watch it in like a film class. But like, just so you know, when I say film class, I mean like a community college 101 film class.
Okay.
And the movie took like 2 different periods to be over. So it was 2 weeks in a row of hearing that I Got You, Babe.
Right.
It just like was burned into my skull for like a 6-month period that I just couldn't get that fucking song out of my head.
It's catchy, but in the worst way.
I got you, babe. I'm like, oh my God, I swear to God. And I counted, I actually rewatched the movie in the last couple weeks because I wanted to make sure I still hate this movie, which I do. And they play the song 10 times, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for a movie whose runtime is the length of this movie, it's a lot of times to just hear that one like, dun, 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 I got you, babe.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh
you
God.
get why he smashes the alarm clock to bits.
I was ready to smash my DVD player or whatever. Yeah. So that just really drove me crazy. Actually that, and like really the way that the story is told in the movie, which I can give you, there are a few jokes in the movie that I think are really funny, that are really well timed and written, and their delivery obviously is really great.
And just as a baseline, if you haven't seen this movie before, if it's been a while, just a refresher course for you. Groundhog Day is a 1993 American comedy fantasy film directed by Harold Ramis, written by Harold Ramis and Danny Rubin, stars Bill Murray as Phil Connors, a TV weatherman who during an assignment covering the annual Groundhog Day event is caught in a time loop, repeatedly reliving the same day.
Right. It's Russian Doll, but in the 90s with Bill Murray.
It's Russian Doll before Russian Doll was a thing. Or Happy Death Day. Or Happy Death Day to You were things.
Yeah. I just like, I'm going to say something that's also going to make me sound kind of like a monster, but there's a lot of, everyone's going to hate me for saying this, but there's a lot of like Seinfeld that I can't tolerate anymore. And I think it's because things are so derivative of it that it's the original, that it's like almost, I don't know, like I guess I should be able to understand because there are a lot of old video games that I can play and I still like them.
Right.
But that other games are derivative of it.
Yeah, of course.
And I seem to I can stomach that, but like certain premises that get overdone in like comedies or even like this premise for like a movie comedy, it's just like it gets done.
Well, but that's the thing. This was the first one to do it.
I know,
and it
but
did
like,
it, and it did it so right. I mean, it's in the National Film Registry. It
I had to pick something that's got like goddamn awards.
It does, and that's the thing. It's got. I mean,
but in the movie, let me get this straight. So it seems like they're trying to teach him a lesson about being a good person, right? Except for he only starts to learn this lesson when he like unsuccessfully like date rapes that Claire chick. Like he literally at one point in the movie, like, baby, I'm cold outside's her, and she's like really trying to leave, and he's like, no, you don't need to go, and like is kissing her and like trying to force her to stay, and then when he realizes he can't like manipulate her and fuck this girl in one night, that's when he learns to be a good person. Like that's all it took. It's like, you can't get this piece of puss in one night, so I'm gonna learn how to be a good person.
Well, but that's
it's like,
the
are
thing.
You serious? Like
That's
what it takes.
I understand that though, because that's the thing. Here's the thing with Bill Murray's character in this movie. Phil Connors starts up that this character goes through such an arc because he is a huge douchebag at the beginning of the movie.
Unbearable.
He's the only reason you'll like him at all is because he's played by Bill Murray. That's the only saving grace that Phil Connors has when the movie starts.
Seriously, yeah.
He's a womanizer. He's a bad person. You don't like him. And then he starts to realize that he's stuck in this time loop, and he starts to go crazy. And then he gets really despondent and tries to kill himself a bunch of times.
Oh, that
And
was
none of it works.
so relatable. That was probably my favorite part. I was like, yes, we get to hang ourselves. We get to jump off a building. We get to
He
run a
does
car through something.
Every possible way that you can try and kill yourself, he gets a chance to do, which that's a
so
really, I
relatable.
mean, what a gift.
I mean, yeah.
You run the gamut. I mean, I bet you he probably thought of new ways to kill himself that we didn't even get to see on screen because they
Yeah.
were just the world wasn't ready to see all that suicide on screen.
And I think too, like when I first saw this movie, and I understood it a little bit better when I watched it recently, but there some of the cuts in the movie, it starts repeating like the scenes and the instances,
Right.
without a lot of like, you know, I guess now, especially today, movies that kind of spoon feed things to you. And so it's a lot easier to kind of like digest what's going on. And I think when I saw this movie originally, I was like, wait, what? Because, by the way, the other movie we had to watch in this part of our lesson was the movie Memento. Which I also fucking hate because I think it's just I think I just hated the class.
You might have just hated this class. What was this class about? It was just a
like
community college
Film
film class?
101 GCC.
So what was the lesson that you were supposed to have been learning by watching Memento
That
and
community
Groundhog Day?
colleges can manipulate you into paying $120 per credit hour to watch movies.
Was it that you're supposed to walk out of class with tattoos, do not pay any more tuition?
No more registering when you're tired. Yeah. I don't know. I think I just needed that like last 3 credit hours to like round out my typical 15 hours that I did in community college. So I was just
Instead
like,
of ceramics class, you went with the Film
this will
101.
be my Tuesday and Wednesday night class. Yeah. There were some lines in the movie that I thought were pretty funny. I mean, at one point, like Claire, his assistant, who's the woman in the movie? Oh, it's the actress's name.
Annie McDowell?
Yeah,
Not the one who plays Claire. That's not Claire.
Claire.
Though. That's
Claire.
who plays Claire. Looking it up and I can't find it.
She's got like a very hot 90s girl like look.
Well, Rita is.
Yes.
That's Annie
Not
McDowell.
Claire, it's
but
Rita,
not
yeah.
Claire. Yeah, Rita.
Yeah.
That's Annie McDowell. Annie
Yeah.
McDowell was the 90s gal.
She's such like a
She
90s
was in
hottie.
everything, yeah.
Such a 90s hottie, yeah. But at one point she's like, people like Groundhog's Day. And he's like, people like blood sausage too. People are morons. I'm like, it's just also his delivery is really great. There were certain lines in the movie that when I rewatched it, I'm like, all right, that's good. I like that. I'm gonna write that down. I do like that. But I don't know, man. And also like it just felt like a lot of the lesson, you know, and I'm not like the biggest like feminist or whatever, but a lot of the lesson teaching in this movie is very at the expense of like the female characters in a way. So it just to me didn't resonate with me when I first watched it because I'm like, you know, I felt like Rita was like the seed of like the manic pixie dream girl archetype. Like
really?
she's like kind of smart and like pretty and she's way too sweet and so loving and giving and she's just so fucking perfect. Don't you want to fuck her? I know you do. Well, you can learn your lesson and then you can fuck her. It's like, God damn it.
Well, okay. See, here's what I'll say about that is I think that's a very interesting point. I've never heard anybody bring up the point of her being the earliest of the Manic Pixie Dream Girls.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is.
Because
Yeah.
I always think about Manic Pixie Dream Girl starting with like Garden State era movies, right?
Yeah.
And you have a really good point that she is sort of this like in the way that a manic pixie dream girl character kind of is. She's like an attainable ideal woman who's like, she's super, she's pretty and she's fun and you like her, but the thing is, in those movies where there's a manic pixie dream girl, I feel like you don't have to change to get the girl.
Yeah.
Like Garden State, the whole like
they're just gonna butterfly into your life and then teach you a lesson and then butterfly out.
Exactly. Like you're able to get a manic pixie dream girl no matter what. Like 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah.
Same deal.
Yeah.
Garden State, same deal.
Yeah.
In this movie, Bill Murray actually does have to change as a character in order to be able to get her. And it's, it might not be the most.
I mean,
It's certainly not the most woke thing in the world that
Yes.
he's like, well, as soon as I finally figure out how to manipulate the city into bending to my will.
Seriously. Like, so my biggest problem with the movie is like he finally gets the girl when at the end, she thinks he's having like a mental fucking breakdown, right? And then, like all the city people are like, you helped my wedding. You did this for me. And like after like 50 other people like verify that this guy isn't a fucking creep, she's like, all right, I'll fuck you. It's like, I can't get down with that.
But
it's
it's supposed. I remember I read somewhere. I'm gonna see if I can find the exact number again. Somebody did the math theoretically to figure out how long Bill Murray was stuck in the time loop. I'm gonna try and find it right now.
It seems like with the things that he was able to accomplish, obviously they can't show this because this runtime in the movie. It's just like he must have been stuck like that for like 2 years. It's like
I think it's even longer than that.
Accomplish like knowing
it's
everything
decades.
about everybody in the diner, like their family and their husbands, and it's just like what?
So here we go. This is according to an article from the Hollywood Reporter. 5 things you didn't know about the movie. First of all, this movie originally was supposed to take place for 10 years. He was supposed to be trapped on Groundhog Day.
Oh God.
The original plan was to have him trapped for 10,000 years. Can you imagine what a different movie this would be?
I might have shot up my school if that.
I feel like we would have seen. That's when Groundhog Day stops being a comedy movie and becomes a horror movie.
A horror movie. Yeah, that's horrendous.
If you have to relive this every day like that for 10,000 years. So the actual numbers are 8 years, 8 months, and 16 days.
Oh my God.
That he's in the time loop before he can get out. That's a lot of time.
Gosh, I want to see like the algorithm that like busted that.
Some bored
like
nerd did the numbers on that one.
Times scenes, times information he had to obtain, and how long it would take to obtain the information, or like the variables here are endless.
But that's the thing. It's like he finally starts to embrace what's going on with him.
Yeah.
And that's what I think makes this, like, this movie is on a really good comedic level anyway, because you have classic moments, you have really funny acting and dialogue and stuff from Bill Murray. You've got great stuff like anytime we see Ned Ryerson on screen. Good old Stephen Tobolowsky.
I love this guy.
Phil?
Yeah.
Phil Connors?
Oh my gosh.
Ned Ryerson.
I love it when he just hugs him and the guy's like so happy. He's like, and at the end he like buys all the insurance from him, and he's like, he got home insurance, car insurance, fire insurance, flood insurance. It's like so ridiculous. I was really hoping that like after he did all that that would be the day that stuck, and it was. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Right.
You have to pay like $10,000. You deserve it because all of this was just for you to get some puss. So good. You got to take care of fucking somebody.
See, anytime you say it's all for you to get some puss, it just makes me hate this take even more, Sarah.
I mean, it's just like, seriously, like he wasn't going to learn his lesson any other way. He literally, like, I think the thing that maybe that they took away from what I'm saying about the puss thing, like maybe the most, what's a good word to use here, like validating for like, oh, he's really truly learning a lesson, might be the fact that he was like the homeless guy and he tried to take him to the hospital and then he immediately died. And he's like, that's not going to happen.
Right.
And the next day takes him out in the morning and feeds him and like tries to help him, and then he dies anyways. And it's like, it's just kind of like, I think in that he learns that lesson that like, rather you're kind or not, you should be kind anyways because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And I felt like that was a good lesson. But then it immediately went back to like, let's try and fuck Rita and like, let's be nice to Rita and let's have a meltdown and hope Rita will, do you want me to stay in your hotel? I thought you were going to stay in my hotel. It's like, oh my God, like I knew we were going to come back to this.
Well, let's try, and if there's a way that we can change the movie theoretically so that it doesn't center around Bill Murray trying to fuck Andy McDowell. So what are some other ways? What is a different way of getting stuck in this time loop and him discovering his way out that doesn't involve a woman? What in your mind?
So what if, and it would be the same kind of plot scenario, but what if it was like him and he has a family, right? Instead of like a crew or whatever.
Okay.
And he has a family and they're like going to take some like day vacation or something, but he's almost like Shining Nicholson level, like disassociated from his family and like slightly abusive and just not likable. I think you could run through a first day of that kind of interaction and be like, this is like kind of a good bad person that doesn't know how to treat the ones that he loves. And then I think you could kind of go through and like teach those lessons, and he could like, break away from the family by like interacting with people in the hotel bar or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think he could still learn the same lessons, and it just wouldn't have to, it was so much about. Let me just say this. The first time that he realizes that the days are pointing over and over, what does he do? He goes and asks this hot chick, what was your 12th grade high school teacher, which apparently is all you need to fuck a hot girl. Like you just need to know the name
one
of a
thing.
teacher.
Yeah.
And
just
then you're
making connections. That's all you need.
Yes. You're fucking in. And then I wrote it down because I thought it was so funny. He literally goes and bangs a hot chick named Nancy. Then he steals a bunch of money from like a bank truck.
The armored car.
The armored car. And then he buys a John Wayne outfit. Like those were the steps of like his first like, all right, I'm going to just break down and I'm going to bang a hot girl, steal some money, be John Wayne. Like it's like, to me, that's like, it's so something a guy would do.
I mean,
be John Wayne.
He hit the nail on the head. He got it right.
Like every guy would be like, I'm going to bang a hot girl, steal some fucking money. I'm John Wayne as fuck. Like,
if I can live this movie, if I get stuck in a time loop, I'm going to exploit as soon as I can figure out like the patterns that people live in during the day. I get that.
Yeah.
I understand why as a character, why those are the choices that he made.
I mean, it does make sense because in the beginning that his character is so unlikable and you would think that he would make shitty choices because he's a shitty person.
Right.
So setting up all of those scenes where he kind of makes like terrible choices is kind of good for the story. Mm-hmm. And then of course, like we said earlier, like the trying to kill himself over and over. I think that character specifically would very quickly become unhappy with the fact that like none of this matters and you can manipulate people, but it doesn't do you any good.
Right.
And would try to kill yourself over and over.
That's the thing about
highly relatable.
Like I remember hearing, I'd heard of this movie. I also saw this movie when I was in college. I saw it in a film class, and I had really no context for the movie other than seeing by the way, just the poster for this movie, one of the worst posters of all time. Bill Murray pressed up against a clock. It has this movie the poster and DVD and cover art for the movie make it look like it's going to be a fun, happy, good time. This movie is fucking dark.
It's kind of depressing.
It's really, I mean, the whole color scheme is muted grays, and it's all set in like this terrible rainy town in February. And where is it? Pennsylvania, Punxsutawney.
Yeah, Punxsutawney.
And it's a depressing movie. I mean, he's killing himself. Like, what is it? 45 minutes in, just a montage
like
of death.
Yeah, a murder, like a self-suicide montage. I just like suicide montage. All right, you got me back.
It's a really dark movie.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like the kind of movie that would have been a huge box office success if it didn't have Bill Murray
I know.
and Andy McDowell in it. And all these really strong, even from like the bottom, from some of the lower ends of the cast, you got like Chris Elliott in there, you got Stephen Tobolowsky, Brian Doyle Murray, Rick Overton is in this movie. And it's a movie that I kind of can't believe for me that it works as well as it does.
Yeah.
But you can't get on board with it.
I don't know. I mean, when I rewatched it, I definitely was like, there are moments in this movie that I really like. I was probably too tough on it the first time I watched it, but then again, I was being forced. And I think when you're forced, when you're forced to watch like something in science class, you're like, I fucking hate this. So then you can watch like now as adults, we watch Bill Nye on purpose. So, I guess there are things that I didn't hate about it. I just didn't feel like the moral was, you didn't arrive at the moral of the story in like the best way. And also like this is very much toward the end of the movie. He's still like, at one point he like gets Rita all the way to the point where she'll have dinner with him, right?
Right, yeah.
And like, so he's manipulated his way all the way up to this, and he thinks he's fucking in, right? And then she says like, yeah, well, I really stupid. I went to college for 19th century English European poetry. It's dumb, and he totally rips on it because at this point he's learned fucking nothing.
Right.
Is that
He
what
still
you're telling
hasn't
me?
learned anything.
So
yeah.
like it takes like I guess you're just supposed to believe that this person is not only a terrible shitty person, but that they're also a fucking idiot. Like it hasn't registered in their brain that like you can't talk and like he has to do these days over and over because these little mistakes. It's like, are you learning?
But that's the thing. I believe that, and that I think is a credit to Bill Murray that he manages as a person. You still watch Bill Murray, and you're like, yeah, he's enjoyable to watch. He's a funny dick.
Yeah,
but
I like
also
funny dick. I think is his like typecast.
That's his type for sure. Absolutely, that's Bill Murray all day. But you can't watch Bill Murray in this movie, and I don't see it as a way to like. That you don't need to suspend your disbelief because you totally believe that he is still not actually changing as a person.
Yeah.
That he's just figured out how to game the system. And this is the point when he starts to finally realize, oh, I actually have to change as a human being.
Yeah, totally.
So what else do you have gripes with about this movie? Besides the very overt, the only reason Bill Murray is becoming a good person is to
bang Rita.
Fuck.
I mean,
slinging that weatherman dick.
Yeah, I mean, he does like, I think finally he ends up as a nice person, right? And she falls in love with him and they wake up together and it's a new day. And up to this point, like you've seen him, I guess, in this very last day make good choices, but I don't know. I just don't believe that people really change. And I just feel like 2 weeks after this occurred, he would be back to like kicking homeless people. I just like, I don't believe it. I can't go with that. I don't know. I also, I mean, and it's really tough for me to dislike this movie because I really love Bill Murray, like, and I always have. And I think like your statement about the fact that, this movie wouldn't have worked if it didn't have Bill Murray in it. I think you can say that about a lot of movies and a lot of roles that Bill Murray's done, where it's like he's so Bill Murray that I'm not sure you could put anyone else in the role and still care about it. Like if you were to put someone else in this that was around in that time period, who would you even try to put?
I can't. I mean, I really couldn't think of anybody who would pull this off the way that Bill Murray has.
Yeah.
I'm trying to rack my brain. Is there anybody that comes to mind for you?
I mean, also, I want to say I don't want to dislike this movie because it's directed by Harold Ramis, and it's like I love Harold Ramis. Like I don't want to dislike this movie. It's just to me, it is a trope, and I think it's the same as the Seinfeld thing that I'm saying, where it's like I know it's the original, but it's like because I've seen it done so many times by other things. Like the original just is like Kool-Aid without the Kool-Aid mix in it. It's like just water.
It's just water.
Which should be an essential life element that I should enjoy, but water makes me gag. So, I can't.
Well, I mean,
I literally can't drink
to your point, I do think that a lot of times when a movie establishes a trope, other movies do clear the bar, and other TV and other media that engages in that trope does clear the bar.
Yeah, they do it better.
But exactly.
Yeah.
And then they set a new bar.
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot. But here's what I think about Groundhog Day is Groundhog Day set the bar, and it set the bar high, which is why nobody really tried to make a movie in the same vein as Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Theoretically, for a really long time. Like the first thing that comes to mind as a movie that engaged in really doing this time loop structure is Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which not explicitly a comedy either. That's the thing. This movie is so hard to follow that everything else that has done it has not really been a comedy up until Russian Doll.
Yeah.
I mean,
Who's also led by an actor that's like just such a unique, strong character,
Right.
Like such a strong presence that they can carry that.
and I haven't seen Russian Doll
Yeah,
yet. So,
yeah.
but let's talk about that for a sec. Have you seen the whole series?
I've only seen like the first episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Russian Doll, Natasha Lyonne is the lead character.
who I adore.
and now, what is her character like in Russian
Piece
Doll?
of shit. I mean, yeah.
Hey, wait
it
a
has
minute.
to be that. It has to be like that they're a piece of shit, that they're just like, they make bad choices. Because otherwise, what would they have a nice person stuck in a time loop that's just like, and they have to learn to be a piece of shit to get through life?
See, I would
that
love to
actually
see
be great.
that. I would love to see that movie. Who would be a good person to be a nice time loop starter who becomes a piece of shit?
Oh my God.
You know who I would love to see, and this is just the first name that came to mind is Fahim Anwar.
That would be fantastic. And just Fahim has to learn how to be more of a dick because he's so not.
He's so not. And then all of a sudden, Fahim slowly becomes Lance Canstopoulos over the course of.
The moral of the movie is
The
that he
time
becomes
loop.
Lance.
And he just lets his hair grow out and his sleeves slowly wear off his shirts.
Tons of dance montages. Like,
It would be great.
I would actually, we should pitch this.
It'd be like Footloose and Dirty Dancing combined with a little bit of Groundhog Day in it.
and Russian Doll. We're gonna do like Russian Doll, but reversed.
I don't know why people haven't done that yet. Actually, that's a really good concept for a movie. Can we go ahead and just?
Yeah, let's pause
If there's
this.
anybody, we're gonna pause. We're gonna
Go
write
email this to
script.
ourselves so that we have it first.
The WGA is on board. We're going to. If you come up and try and get this movie from us, my cat will scratch you. I will throw him in your face.
All. Do you know what I really liked though? That I really liked seeing that I had forgotten was who was in the movie. Chris Elliott.
Yeah, Chris Elliott as the cameraman is great.
Because I love him from Scary Movie like 3 when he plays the guy with like the little hand.
Yeah.
And it's just my favorite quote out of that guy's mouth is like, grab my strong hand. Like, I just like, that has played in my head probably for the last 20 years. So when I saw him, I was like, it's Chris Elliott. I was like, well, maybe I do like this movie. It's so funny. And like the other guy that he talks to, like when he's in the station, I guess he is like Sarah Jessica Parker gay best friend in Sex in the City. And I totally didn't realize that.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
was sitting there watching that with Somia, and I have seen some. I'm not the biggest Sex in the City fan either, but my sister really is, so I had to tolerate a lot of it. Like literally every episode of it.
Oh God,
I know, it was nauseating.
I'm so sorry.
I just like, oh, she's like, the fashion is so good. I'm like, the fashion is so bad. It's not good. And the acting and the writing and the like, this is what women are like. But yeah, I thought that was really funny. That really did like win me points in the beginning. I was like, oh, it's Chris Elliott. Okay. I'm back in. I'm back in.
So, if there were a movie that you would recommend people watch instead of Groundhog Day, what's your pick?
Oh, you mean like just a general movie or like a similar kind of like
It doesn't
lesson
have to be
movie?
similar, but maybe another comedy, maybe another something from that era.
Oh, from that era. Oh my gosh.
Because this is, early 90s.
Yeah,
This
it's
is a very
93.
specific
If
time.
you're gonna-
Lots of good comedy around then.
Oh yeah. Gosh. Oh, I'm like blacking out. I keep thinking of what? How about I just recommend another a movie that Bill Murray is in?
Do it.
If you haven't watched the movie Kingpin, please watch it
I have
because
not
it is
watched it.
what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna fucking throw this microphone. Are you kidding?
No, I missed
Oh
out
my
on a
God.
lot of stuff, Sarah.
Oh my gosh! Wow, you're like a Christian upbringing or something
Yes.
weirdly. Oh right,
Yes.
that's what's wrong with your face. You look like
Exactly.
you had people around you that loved you as a child.
Too much.
Too much encouragement.
Too much love. Too much encouragement.
You have this like my dad didn't hate me look on your face. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I get that.
But if you haven't watched that movie, you totally should. It's like the gosh, what is that? The guy's name. I always get him. Is it Woody Harrelson?
I think he's in that movie.
King.
I know that movie is directed by now Oscar winner Peter Farrelly and his brother.
Yeah.
It's a Farrelly Brothers movie.
Yeah. It is Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson's in it. Randy Quaid is in it. Chris Elliott is in it, of course, and
it's
Bill
just-
Murray.
And it's a movie about him being a bowler, right?
Yeah, so the Woody Harrelson character. By the way, you know that meme that's like, "Hello, darkness, my old friend."
Yeah.
They're actually, in my opinion, referencing a scene from this movie because in the beginning of the movie, Woody Harrelson has to he can't pay his rent, and his toothless, haggard old lady landlord comes and knocks on the door, and she's like, "You need to pay up," and he's like, "I can't." She's like, "Well, you know what that means," and it's just like, "Hello, darkness, my old friend," and it's just like I'm pretty sure that's what that meme is referencing. But the whole movie is like comedically perfect. It's sound. To me, it's like the perfect comedy.
Okay.
It's a good lesson of like learning to not treat people that you become friends with like they're less than you kind of thing. And then also like Bill Murray plays like the bad guy in it, but it's also Bill Murray does a good job like with
Bill
this
Murray
movie
does a good job of playing a dick.
of playing a bad guy that you also kind of like.
Right.
You're just like, I want you to choke, but also like maybe someone gives you the Heimlich. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want you to die. I just want you to suffer a little.
It's funny talking about Bill because I was just talking about on the last episode Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
I feel like Daniel Day-Lewis and Bill Murray are both similar in real life, where they're both these elusive people who are very hard to nail down, but they show up and everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's this person."
Yeah, thank God you're here.
But I don't know if I'd want to actually meet either of them in real life.
Yeah, I don't
because
know.
I have a feeling they would both be fucking impossible to hang out around.
Yeah. Meeting your heroes. Have you met, like, obviously our situation, we're around the Comedy Store all the time, and you do meet like your heroes,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes you meet them and you're like, oh God, no, I wish we'd never locked eyes
Right.
because I don't want to think this about you. But then sometimes you meet people and you're like, oh my, yes, you're like exactly what I was hoping for. Like,
Yeah.
I met Dick Van Dyke at
Dick
one
Van
point.
Dyke is so nice.
And he's the sweetest old man, and you're just like, oh, I expect you to fall over an ottoman. You're so like, he's exactly that like energy that you'd want from him. You know
He's
what
the one
I mean?
I saw him. He came in one night to watch the show in the main room, and that guy had a smile, just a gigantic smile on his
Big
face the whole
smile
time.
that you,
It was
yeah.
so great.
Even though he's like a little old man now, and you're just like, oh, I just love you.
Aw,
yeah.
dick.
Yeah. We
Well-
had go ahead.
Oh no, you say your thing.
I was gonna say we had Chevy Chase was there like a couple weeks ago.
I
Did you
heard
see
about
him?
this.
You
No, I
weren't
missed
there?
it. I was gone. I was
It
out
was
of town.
it was kind of great, you know, because National Lampoons and like a lot of old Chevy Chase movies are like right up my alley. I really love them, and it was just fun to see him, you know, because a lot of celebrities do stand up in the way of like, I'm famous, you're gonna listen to me,
Right.
and everyone's gonna be like, yes, I love you, please talk more, you know. It was just fun to watch him. Was he like brilliant? No, but does he try to do stand up? No. So it was fun to watch him talk and like just to be around his energy. Like it was really great.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, you know, speaking of people whose energy was fun to be around, Sarah, it's you. You were a
Yeah.
great guest. Thanks for coming through today.
Thank you so much, Jay.
Where can the listeners find your work?
You guys can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Sarah Dresses, SARADRESSES. Are you going to be uploading this soon?
Yeah, this will be
Yeah.
out on Friday.
Soon, cool. So I'm gonna be in Phoenix, Glendale, Arizona in the next couple weeks, March 14th through 17th. I'll be hosting shows all weekend at Stir Crazy Comedy Club. So come on out if you're from Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah,
Nice.
And Twitter. I'm occasionally funny. If you like video games, you should follow me because I talk about them a lot. A lot.
A lot of video gaming coming from Sarah.
A lot of game content, but yeah, occasionally funny, always video games.
Sweet. You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram, jlightcomedy.com for show dates. I actually will be in Austin on Sunday at the South by Southwest Festival performing on Roast Battle at the Hideout. So if you're there, you got a pass, or you want to try and get on the guest list, let me know. I'll see what I can do. And that's going to be Sunday at the Hideout at 11 o'clock. And then I'll be out on the road with Roast Battle again in April. So check out my website for dates. Got some other shows in LA coming up since I am currently trapped in Los Angeles working for a television show.
Due to having a job.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm making money, enjoying my life, and living my dreams. And this has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.